Welcome, citizens of the globe, to the Frontend Heroes podcast. We interrupt this podcast for a special announcement and interstitial, sort of mid-season, and some news to share with you. I'll lead off with it, which is that I've decided to take some time away and step back down from the podcast and hand the reins over to Scott and potentially someone new. It's a tough decision from my end, and we can talk a bit more about it. But Scott, I told you about this a while ago, and your reaction was, "Oh, okay, that makes sense."
It
And I
does,
wonder why.
yeah, but it does totally. I mean, like the thing is, like it's great fun to do these things, but and people listen for like the duration of the pod. You know, maybe they listen to like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, but there's more to get those 40 minutes recorded than. And I mean, we're a conversation, so the actual live take is like 45 minutes, an hour, but it takes so much more, and like you've got an awful lot on. So we've been doing this now for like a few years, right? Like
Yeah.
we've had a lot of great guests on, many of those thanks to you, and I think that it does make sense that at some point, like you would like to focus on other things. So I'm really like, I'm sorry to see you go, because honestly, like you were the driving force for this. Like I remember like chatting in our old office, and and then one day you said, you know what, we should just record this. And then Frontend Heroes was born, and like it became what it's become. I think we have like regular listeners. We're not like the biggest podcast in the world, but we do it for enjoyment, and I'm gonna miss that. I really am. I really am. I mean, like for me, I'll still see you, but like obviously the listeners won't. So for me, it's like sad in terms of the podcast, but it's not the end of
Well,
me and
look.
you.
So my reasons for this are, I guess the first one is just to avoid burnout. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm the type of person that just takes on too many things. So it's not so much as I'm doing this, stopping to focus on other things. It's to focus on less things.
Mm-hmm.
And, putting the podcast together, doing that coordination by itself is not that super difficult. Because we record as a conversation, the editing is pretty straightforward. Make sure there's some music. We don't even really cut out anything. And then make sure the end titles and all that stuff syncs up. It takes maybe like 20 minutes. It's not the worst. Coordinating the guests also is not that hard. You just ask people, you talk to them, etc. But it's that extra burden of having to do this by a certain deadline when there's home stuff, there's side project stuff, there's work stuff also all going on at once. And yeah, it's just, you probably can't tell, but like my appearance is deteriorating because I'm overwhelmed by the amount of stuff, and I'm not going to let myself burn out. So I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to shed responsibilities one bit at a time, take some pressure off, and focus on what matters, which is my family and doing good work for those that are paying me a bunch of money to do it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, like the worst thing you could get yourself into is just like taking more and more things on. And I've always, like, as long as I've known you, that's exactly what you've done. You've just always taken more things on, and it leaves you with a tremendous amount of knowledge, and like you're able to talk about many things, like with genuine knowledge. But I mean, that kind of thing just at some point that's not going to be sustainable. So I think with your, especially with your side project, which our listeners know all about because we cover it on the pod. But like that's a super interesting project. Like it really is, and I think that like I can see why you would want to like put some focus onto that as well. And the most important thing, like you mentioned, like spending time with your family,
Yeah.
and just relaxing a little. So, yeah, I understand. I'm sorry to see you go. I've got to tell the listeners that we've got somebody to come in. If we think of it as like I'm shuffling along to Evan's chair, and then the person coming in to fill my chair is a great character,
Yeah.
someone that you would larger than life, I think you would describe him as. Like it, so super excited for everybody to meet him, and I'm sure he's going to bring like great enthusiasm as well as great knowledge to the podcast.
Yeah,
So the
absolutely.
plan, yeah. Sorry, sorry to cut you off. I was just going to say the plan is that we take about a month off. We do like a bit of a handover behind the scenes with you, Evan, and then we we just figure a few things out, line up some guests and everything, and continue there. So in about a month's time, we'll be back with a new host.
Good. And yeah, I fully endorse this person. They're one of my favorite people. They're just great. You'll see. And I hope you are excited to continue the journey with the podcast. And before we sign off on this is just going to be a short episode. I do want to reflect a bit on the podcast itself. And a starting point for that is I had a conversation with an old friend from, we were friends from when we were, I think, 8 until 18 at least. And we knew, we were around a few more years after that during university years. But we lost touch. And it wasn't until recently that we had a phone call to catch up. And he, in advance, had listened to some episodes of the show. Now, he's a lawyer, and he has no idea what we're talking about when we talk about Angular or React or JavaScript or any of that stuff. And he said, and yet, listening to the episodes, you pretty quickly got past those technical things and into the humanity parts of it.
Mm-hmm.
What it means to be a person working within a particular field and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And he got something out of it at that regard. And I've always thought that is what we're trying to do here. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
we want to talk about technical things, and we're approaching it from a front-end perspective, but not being able to know who in the audience is on expert level or beginner level, the most you can do really is approach it from a human level. And I've always found that really fascinating because you get to know these interesting people and how they feel and act within certain situations.
Yeah, I'm really, really happy to hear that because, like I listen to like certain podcasts, and they're the best ones for me are exactly as you described. Like they have a subject, they have like a field of like this is why you would listen to it because you're interested in a certain thing. But actually, like there's episodes of those podcasts which don't really touch on that subject, or they touch on it, like they glance on it, and that is like a springboard to what's going on in the world, like what's happening like to this person. Like why would you be in, like what is that human connection to this? So that's the first time I heard that, but I'm really, really pleased that that's the case. And I think we'll try to continue that, and I hope that you'll be a listener, and I also hope that you'll be like the first guest, because I think that you are exactly a front end hero, and I think that we have interviewed many people, and I think that the starting point should definitely be that you come on the show and really sign off. Like your last episode is as a front end hero.
No, I'll be very happy to do that when it comes. I will say, however, that the secondary reason that I'm taking the step back and stopping doing this is because as an only child, I have a tendency to have an inflated ego and want to be the center of attention. And certainly, I often, while interviewing someone, will insert my own stuff in. So I'm trying to not do that as much, to become the center of attention. Unfortunately, that means that this last episode, I will be the center of attention, and I'll have to handle that. But
you can live with that. You're right.
I'll be the last time for a while.
You've got to be. No, and I disagree. I think that I don't think that you really. Yeah, I don't think in any episodes you really like push your own agenda. Like every episode was good because you gave others a platform to speak about the things that they've done. Maybe you referenced it with your own experiences, but I don't think that's you pushing like your own agenda or so. Like, I think you're being a little bit harsh on yourself there.
Ah,
And Evan, you started a podcast. Like, you may be an only child. I'm one of four. I've also got a massive ego. That's why I started. I helped start a podcast because I like to talk, and
yeah.
it's just one of those things. I think you're being slightly harsh on yourself there, but
Yeah.
but you're gonna come on, which is the main thing. And like, professionally, personally, and everything, like, I wish you like all the best. And as I said, for me and you, it's not like going to be us stopping talking, but I know that you're saying goodbye to the listeners.
Yeah, but as far as goodbye to the listeners goes, well, follow me on Twitter. I don't post a lot, but I will hopefully be writing some articles and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
I won't disappear completely, not going into radio silence, just, taking things easy, taking the pressure off. And I do want to thank our listeners. Like, I know I've said before on other shows, hey, reach out and stuff, and no one has. But I know we do have listeners, so thank you for listening, and please keep on. You're going to enjoy what comes ahead, I'm sure.
Cool. Okay.
Cool.
Well, this is it. Would you like to
Yeah,
say
one more
goodbye?
time. So, well, thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this show, I'm doing this from memory this time. Don't forget to like, heart, or star us in your podcast of choice. Reviews and ratings are how the fancy algorithms find our content. So the power to help is within you. If you have any questions or concerns, you should message us on Twitter at HeroesFrontend. And until next time, remember, heroes, with great front-end power comes great responsibility. See you next time.